Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pals Go to the Movies. I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to be reviewing the new movie Ad Astra. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. Astronaut Roy McBride undertakes a mission across the unforgiven solar system to uncover the truth about his missing father and his doomed expedition that now, 30 years later, threatens the universe. So let's get started by going down the cast. So we have Brad Pitt as Roy McBride, Tommy Lee Jones as Clifford McBride, Ruth Negga as Helen Lantos, Donald Sutherland as Thomas Pruitt, Liv Tyler as Eve, and we have director and writer James Gray. So for this movie, I went in taking notes from Touly's book to stay away from trailers and interviews on TV and stuff like that. So I kind of stayed away from most of those things. So I went in with knowing little to none of this movie just from the teaser trailer that I originally saw. And I was surprised. So here's my review. Let's go down my pros. First off, I really enjoyed the settings, how they portrayed space travel. Give it that there is some things I'm going to talk about later that they got a little wrong. But to start off, it was really pleasing to the eye. I really loved the colors and the way the angles were shot. Other than the acting was phenomenal, especially from Brad Pitt. He played this character that I don't know if he was emotionally damaged as a child, but when I saw it, I was like, there's something wrong with him. At the end, it turns out, and like we said earlier, spoilers, he has been traumatized, emotionally damaged since the beginning when he was a kid due to his father going missing in a mission. The whole flashback with Brad Pitt's wife, Eve, played by Liv Tyler. It just brought me back to Memento, how they did the shifting when the guy's talking and he's remembering his wife. It's similar to that. It's not really like a flashback, more than just a brief glimpse into his past. So we don't know a lot about Eve. We just know that she was there as his girlfriend or wife, and later she's gone. We see the whole stage as the movie, right? We see all the decorations and the cinematics and everything. It looks pretty and everything. But the most important thing that got through to me was Brad Pitt's emotional role and his whole story between him and Tommy Lee Jones as his father. You know, how they had this chemistry, but you never saw them on screen at the same time. But it was just Brad Pitt going through his life and telling you that he effed up. And at the end, he's searching for the answer. Why is he this way and stuff like that? It doesn't have a lot of action as you would normally think about movies such as Armageddon that deals with space, but this movie is more of a drama movie that we focus on Brad Pitt's character, Roy McBride, going after answers in space because his father's in space. And next thing I'm going to touch upon is that this movie has a lot of cast that were in Space Cowboys and Armageddon. Liv Tyler was in Armageddon. Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland was in Space Cowboys. If you want more space travel with these characters or actors, these are two movies you might want to watch. Now let's go on to the cons. I actually saw two things at the end. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other parts in the movie, especially like when Brad Pitt's crying, like I think it's in space. He's floating, but his tears are dropping down his cheek, which I'm like, wait, if you're in space and floating, shouldn't they be like floating too? Stuff like that, little goofs. But there's this thing that really bothered me at the end when Roy McBride is about to dock onto the Lima Project station. His shuttle actually drifts away when he could have technically just tethered a belt onto it like they do in space, or tethered themselves to something so to prevent from just drifting away. No, he kind of just let the ship leave. I mean, to me, that was like, wait, are you not thinking about going back? To me, it kind of didn't explain it. If he was at the beginning trying to say, hey, this is like a one-way trip, then I would understand he's not even planning to come back. Next, we see him fly back to his ship using a sort of a shield from the antenna. When he's returning to the ship, he actually uses his suit to impulse himself towards his ship, but then he accelerates faster as he's getting closer to the ship when he should be decelerating in reverse. And if he would have done that, it's just gradually slow down, he wouldn't have that tumble that he had. I mean, I know they put it there as an additional effect for audience to be worried about his character, but to me, it was like, hey, you're an astronaut, you should know all this. To me, those things were like either done by mistake, or they didn't catch them, or they were just saying, hey, just to get the people more excited, So to me, those were two errors that I saw that I don't know if people saw it or the director just said, just put it in there, it'll make the movie more exciting. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Touly to see how he saw this movie.
So for this film, I did minimize watching trailers or reading up on it. The only one that I saw was when I went to go watch a movie at the theater, and it might have been one where we reviewed for Sal's podcast here, where they showed the trailer, and I've seen it a couple of times, but it was pretty much the same trailer. And the way they presented this trailer to me, it has this actionary feel to it. Not like it was like an action-based film, not like that, but it felt like a film that had a lot of scenes where things might get blown up, or that it's that odd. It's I don't know how to kind of describe it, but it kind of gave me that sort of vibe when I saw the trailer. So going into the movie, I was expecting this. Of course, the film didn't turn out to be this way, and I'm not going to say that because the film did not meet that expectation that the film wasn't good. I enjoyed the film for Brad Pitt's performance. Sal alluded to it. That was one aspect of the film where it shined a lot at. Also, the visuals. Again, with the film taking place in outer space for a good duration, the visuals were very compelling. The type of shots they were giving us, at least to me, it made me feel like I was there in the moment. I guess all these ideas that the film introduced, like the things that Brad Pitt's character encountered, that led to like doors of potential like follow-ups that the movie could have gone down to give us a little more than what the film presented. I'm going to go and talk about that in a bit because that's more on my con side. But in a way, I just wanted a little bit more other than the film being very straightforward with these little ideas being chucked in here and there to try to spice it up a little bit. But because there wasn't really much follow-up on those ideas, that it didn't really matter. Like you could have just left those stuff out and the movie would have still been what it was. It was pretty much, to me, a movie about a son's journey, the suffering that he's going through in relationship with his father and how he's trying to reconnect with being human, I guess, with his society and stuff. The movie was very slow paced though because of that, because there wasn't a lot of other things that kind of pulled me in. I felt like the story kind of suffered because of that. The film was a little over 2 hours long. I feel like if you have reduced that to maybe an hour and 30 minutes for what the movie showed me, I think it would have been a better paced film and I would have left the theater being satisfied that, okay, this was pretty much what they were going for and they delivered within this amount of time. But this extra amount of time, again, exploring ideas not to its full potential, I think if you taken those stuff away, maybe the film would have been that much shorter and still been even more effective, because you're not using dead space in your film. You're actually shooting what's matter, given the vision that you are taking Brad Pitt's character. Like I said, he did a phenomenal job, but at the same time, he was the only character who I sort of cared for in this film, despite, actors like Tommy Lee Jones being in the film, who's been in very prominent roles and films that I grew up enjoying as well. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care much for the father role that he played. His role was there. You could have just replaced him, really, I feel like, with any other actor, and I would have still felt the same way about the film. Again, not to knock off Tommy Lee Jones for his acting skill. I'm just saying, like, in terms of who could have played him, it could have been anybody, and I would have still felt the same way about the movie. I feel like some of the other space movies that I've seen, they have the same sort of mindset in telling a story in outer space, but I feel like those movies were done so in a much better way. I guess the most current example that I have seen that I could kind of relate to is Interstellar. I guess if the film was a little more like Interstellar in terms of how it presented its story, then I probably would have liked the movie a whole lot more. Yeah, I mean, it was an alright movie. I did not hate it or anything, but I didn't think at the same time it was a movie that I would go back and rewatch. A movie that I thought was like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. It was alright, and I think that's how I left the theater feeling.
I do agree with you that Tommy Lee Jones's character seemed like too bland. I mean, for a father that delivered the line to Roy and said, hey, I never cared about your mom, I never cared about you. To say that, I would want somebody to be an actor who would deliver it with a bigger impact instead of just like a line that he's just reading from a book. To tell you the truth, Tommy Lee Jones, he's good and everything, like you said, and not to take anything away from him, but could he done something better? Maybe yes. Maybe instead of just telling his son to let him go as he was trying to float into space, why not try to sabotage something in the space station and tell, Roy, hey, you're not leaving or I'm not going with. To me, it just didn't get the point across. The same thing with Eve. Brad Pitt's just having flashbacks. We never see them actually have a whole conversation except when she's writing the email or text to him. That seems like it's just was focused on Brad Pitt, but could have been done better. And for a movie, like you said, compared to other space movies, when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, wow, this is going to be another Gravity movie. And I like Gravity. But then when I saw it in theater, trailers, I'm like, yeah, it's not quite there. I mean, it's like 2 steps below gravity, you know, in the story and everything. And the whole thing, they had 2 hours to develop Brad Pitt's emotional story with his father and also with his estranged wife. Now, they had some time when he was going from Mars to Final Destination. They could have basically implemented that because he was staying awake and saying that he was hallucinating. Why not use that time to make him go and reflect on more things like that? They did a little bit, but they didn't do it too much. This whole thing, like, yeah, he's alone, but we see Brad Pitt being, you know, having a beard and just being, you know, really weak. No, you have him talking about his life or remembering his father. These things would actually help develop the characters better. And maybe we would have basically been looking forward to their meeting. You know, Roy meets his father. I mean, but at the end, it was just like, hey, yeah, he's there. Even Tommy Lee Jones comes out and says, hey, is that you, son? I was like, do I really care about that scene? No. With that, I'm going to throw it to Touly and ask him for his final grade of the movie.
I'm going to give the film a 6 out of 10. It's normally the grade I give to a movie where I felt it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It's watchable for a first time, but because of the slow pacing and how they told the story, I felt like the film was dragging instead of focusing on what mattered to even make me care more about other characters other than Brad Pitt. So 6 out of 10 for me.
For me, it's going to be a 6.5 out of 10. The reasoning, I really just love the scenes from space or how they portrayed space and space travel. I took it down from my initial grade that I was going to give it because of the story. It was not what executed story between a father and son. The relationship was straight at the beginning, and at the end, it was just still the same thing, except Brad Pitt just turned a new leaf. In order for me to grasp that, you needed to show more, invested in the characters, make me believe Brad Pitt. Just to let you know, like Touly said, it does drag a little bit. So that does it for this review of Ad Astra. Please join us next time when we're going to be reviewing The Joker.
One small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
And please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can find our social media links down below. And like always, keep watching movies.